When we think about our wars since 2001, we usually think of just these two countries, Afghanistan and Iraq. But those were the signature wars. Our so-called war on terror stretches beyond those borders. If we include nations that we've launched drone strikes into, for example, it looks like this, adding Pakistan, Yemen, and Somalia. We have also launched strikes in Libya. But really, even this map doesn't show how limitless the so-called war on terror has now become. Here's why. Very early on in the Obama administration, in March of 2009, the definition of the authorization for use of military force, the AUMF, which basically authorized the war in Afghanistan in 2001 against al-Qaeda, was expanded to include not just al-Qaeda, but also associated forces that are engaged in hostilities against the United States or its coalition partners, including any person who has committed a belligerent act or has directly supported hostilities in aid of such enemy armed forces. Now, this is important because the Pentagon and Department of Justice have justified everything from drone strikes to indefinite detention under this expanded AUMF definition. In fact, the DOJ white paper released earlier this year on targeted killings specifically says, quote, "The president has authority to respond to the imminent threat posed by al-Qaeda and its associated forces, arising from his constitutional responsibility to protect the country, the inherent right of the United States to national self-defense under international law." But what exactly is an associated force of al-Qaeda that we are at war with? Well, we have some idea. This is a 2004 list of associated forces identified by the Department of Defense. This information was found in the Guantanamo files made public by WikiLeaks. As you can see, it's a rather large list and includes organizations you probably didn't know we were at war with over the last decade, including the Iranian intelligence agency, Pakistani intelligence, the Muslim Brotherhood, Hezbollah, and Hamas, plus more than 60 other groups. Now here's the thing. If we include the organizations that are listed as associated forces by the Pentagon here, then really the global war on terror looks a lot more like this, including nations like Algeria, Lebanon, Morocco, Egypt, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Iran, Tunisia, Saudi Arabia, Syria, and really the list just goes on and on. So this war is far more expansive than most of us can even imagine, and some in Congress now want to rein it in. The Hill reports today that early draft language in the new National Defense Authorization Act would, quote, require President Obama and the Pentagon to review all groups or individuals now characterized as associated forces under the current rules. The review mandated by the draft language would require the Pentagon to specifically lay out whether those groups or individuals are directly tied to al-Qaeda operations and if they are engaged with ongoing or future terror plots against the United States or its allies. So, if Congress succeeds in this, then this will be the first limit imposed on the AUMF in more than a decade. And as this conflict has now expanded into more regions of the world that we never imagined we'd be dropping bombs on, the new limits on this global war on terror is exactly what's needed most. In Washington, Sam Sachs, RT.